Go. Yes, it is. Welcome, everybody. This is the 11 o'clock class. We're opening up a new chapter today. We're opening up book number 15, Simple Songs, and we're going to keep this at a level 3. I am not going to be pushing you to do lots of extra things in this because if you're just coming from level 2 is all about getting comfortable with where your fingers are on the keys. In level 3, we're going to start working on how to arrange these songs on your particular instrument, meaning picking the right rhythms, choosing the right sounds, getting the right tempos. So, that's where we are at this point. After we get acquainted with what our instruments can do for us just from rhythm presets and song setups, then you can go on to the intermediate and advanced classes, my Monday, Wednesday classes, where we add chords and we start making presets and doing all kinds of fun things with our instruments. So one step at a time. And yeah, you're welcome to come to any and all of the classes all at the same time. That's fine because you can make every song as easy or as hard as you want it to be. So we're just going to keep everything kind of easy in this class. The first song in the book is Any Dream Will Do. If you went to the last week, I did put the handout in, and as now I'm finding there is actually a mistake in the handout already. That figures. I researched it again. There's always going to be a little blurb at the top of the handout, and every week I'm going to include, whoops, I lost a fingernail. That looks pretty ugly. I'm going to include the handout for this week's song, and I will also include the handout for next week's song so you can get it in advance, because that way if you want to take notes, you can see I've left a lot of space to take notes. And I made all of these up a while back, and I think they work very well with the songs. It's going to give you a little blurb about the song, and you can add notations to that if you want. Review what we're supposed to already know. Features, what kind of things are we going to learn in this song? Chords, what are the chords? Now, speaking of chords, if you have not downloaded my chord sheets, because these are very easy to follow. It gives you the chord and the finger you should use, a C minor chord, the notes you need, the fingers you need, the 7 chords, the notes you need, and the fingers you need. These are for all the white keys. These are for all the black keys. Now, it looks like there's more, but there's not. They're grouped in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in between the lines. Remember, every black key has 2 names, a sharp name and a flat name. Now, when you're talking about chords, your instrument is smart, but it does not know which one you're reading in the book. So you could be reading a D flat chord, and it might be showing up in your window as a C sharp chord. It's only going to show up as the one that shows up most often. So that's the chords. Most of the time, it will show up. This one, it's half and half. Some of the organs actually have one or the other. E flat is more common than D sharp. F sharp is more common than G flat, but there are songs where we will see a G flat chord. You just need to know that that's the same as an F sharp chord. If you need my chord charts, I will also post these on Patreon. Or you can always email me, 5028@fletchermusic.com to get the chord charts. Now, I also, for level 3, made up a symbols chart. The note values, what they mean, and we will learn them as they show up in music. Don't forget, there will never be an exam on any of these things. So do you need to know what they are? Sure, but what if you don't know what they are? Well, you can come to the symbols chart and find out what they are. Now, as far as what to do with them, now you got to come to class. I have to have you come to class for some things. Okay, so then we're also going to give you on your sheet styles. Styles are music styles or music plus orchestration, rhythm plus orchestration. Which backgrounds should you use? Now, I'm not going to list every organ and tell you which ones to use. I have just listed a couple of suggestions from various organs. It's up to you to find the one that matches your organ. And then I leave some lines because I may find some different ones. And you may find some different ones and say, guess what? This one's better. And write it in. Same thing with sounds. Now, sounds are for the melody, what's going on in the top hand. And it can be here, here. What's the melody sounds? And I always will give you 2 or 3 suggestions as to what I think would work well. But again, let your instrument rhythm presets do the hard work for you. And then if you've got something in mind that you have to have, then you can fill in a different sound. And then you have to learn your instrument as to find out, how do I get to that sound? And that's part of what we're going to learn in level 3. So we're going to apply this and the music to this, to our instrument. More than just, well, we're still going to do chords, we're still going to do fingering, because it's still important to know where my fingers go to make the song sound pretty. But we're going to start putting it on our instruments so that we can actually start making some beautiful arrangements with the songs. Any questions so far? Nope? Okay. All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Now, the blurb, if you have gotten this, if you've already printed this, the blurb actually says that the song, Any Dream Will Do, it's the first song in the book, page 4. Page 4. The song was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice for the 1968 musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I've never seen it, but I hear it's very good. The melody is borrowed from a gospel hymn, Because He Lives. Now, I researched it again, and that statement is kind of flip-flopped. The melody is similar to the gospel hymn, Because He Lives, but which one took from which one? This one, Any Dream Will Do, actually came out first. So it couldn't have borrowed it from Because He Lives, other way around. So you can cross out borrowed from and just put in similar to, if you've already got this. The melody is similar to the gospel hymn, Because He Lives. A lot of times composers will hear a song or hear a melody line and they'll say, aha, I can use that. I can use that. So that's a lot of times how songs get composed. You know, there's only how many notes? There's 13 notes. How many chords are there? Well, there's infinite number of chords. But there are several chord patterns that get used to compose songs. So I think that's always very interesting, why some songs sound similar to other songs. Okay, what else do we know about the song? It was performed by Jason Donovan, Donny Osmond, Lee Mead, at Diana's concert, the concert for Diana in 2007. This has also been done by, shoot, who else did this one? I think those were the main people that did this. Yep, okay. Actually, this is a musical comedy. I did not realize it was a musical comedy, but there are only a few spoken lines of dialogue. The rest of the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat is entirely sung through. It's almost kind of like an operetta type of a thing. After the success, now this came out before his very successful Jesus Christ Superstar. That was the next one that Lloyd Webber and Rice did together. So once Jesus Christ Superstar got really, really, really big, then people started going back and re-looking at this one. And so more and more showings of this one started popping up across the United States, because this was pretty much strictly done in the UK to begin with. And so it was actually done on Broadway in 1982, and then it was in a film in 1999 starring Donny Osmond. Now, for those of you that have, what kind of music styles? For those of you that have Circle of Lions at 72 beats per minute, that's a fabulous background for this. Fabulous. But there are tons of backgrounds that work with this. Anything from pop ballad, which is what I'm going to be playing this on, electricity, which isn't even on here, ballad jazzy, mellow, smooth 16-beat, that's for the Freedom 3. So you'll have to find which ones are yours on these sheets. I also did it on a polka, basic country, so pretty much everybody can use anything they want, ballroom Latin. Some of them are going to be at 72, and some of them are going to be at almost double the speed. Why? because if you play everything at 72, this needs a little bit of bounce. This needs to have a little bit of motion, a little bit of bounce. And some things at 72 are very, very slow. So if that happens, what you have to do is double the tempo. So you'd have to make it about 144. Anywhere between 135 and 144 would be fine. And in some cases, let's see, what did I do? A shuffle, I doubled. If you have a basic contempo, I doubled it to 135, and it sounds like this. Because you need that bounce. If you were to cut that in half, it wouldn't sound right. If you put it on the pop ballad, 72 is perfect. Because there's enough subtle stuff going on in the middle of that. Finding the right rhythm is 99% of getting your song really nice. Now, Ballroom Latin, I did put it on both. I want you to listen to how different they sound. Here would be 72, and I'm just going to play a line or two so you can hear what I mean. This is 72. But if I put it at double that, now all of a sudden you have that bounce and you can feel it a little bit better. Okay. Now, I don't think Latin is the very best rhythm for that, but I used that because I wanted to show you how the difference between a 70 or 72 beats per minute and a 135 to 140, which is basically doubling the speed. But you're playing it both times exactly the same. Is there anybody who questions the concept here? It's all mathematical. You have
Dawn,
to. Yeah, go ahead.
Could you just play Circle of Lines?
Except I don't have it on this one.
Oh, don't have one. Okay.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to play it on Circle of Lions.
Okay.
Okay, but if you don't have it, don't worry about it. But if you do have it, try it at 72. It's something. It'll give you something different to play other than the Lion King song. So yeah, it's this gives you a whole nother song to play with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep. And polka, basic country is at 142. Electricity was at 72. Jazzy was at 72. And the polka was at 72. Because if you did a polka at 140, it would sound really crazy. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. You got enough bounce. You got enough bounce going on to make it feel good. But if you look at the counting, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Red, green, green, green. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you have to count it. You count it double.
Hey, Dawn,
Yes.
can you try on Calypso?
Ooh. Yeah, let me try. Calypso, where are you? Oh, it's under Hawaiian, isn't it? Yeah.
Because I played Circle of Life under Calypso.
Try it. Let's try it. You might have something here. You might have something here. That's good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's at 140, 142.
142?
Play that one fast.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Nice suggestion.
Nice.
See?
That's nice.
Question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Question.
Yes.
Calypso. So that is something on the Imperial?
I'm playing on the Imperial, my honey. Yep. Yes, Miss Sue Kelly, I am playing it on the Imperial, on your Imperial. Yep. Yeah, that's under Hawaiian. Yep. Good suggestion, Ramon. Thank you. That's
How
awesome.
about gospel?
Let's try gospel. Because yes, finding your rhythms is pretty important. Now, which gospel did you use, Miss Peg?
Nolan's piano, Nolan's, however you say
Oh,
that.
no, Nolan's piano I don't have. Let's try. Let's try. This could actually work
Good.
because this is revival, but this could actually work because it's got the bounce. And if you've got the bounce, yes, that's what you're looking for is that
Okay.
bounce. That's at 140. I don't like it with the organ. I really like it better with like a flute or a pan flute. I think that's going to give it a better flavor. So then you'd have to go to some of your categories and find those instruments.
Up there. Okay.
Yeah, that's the bounce you're looking for. See, now you're thinking like arrangers. That's a good thing. Yeah. Okay, so any of those are going to work fine. Fill them in, try them all, fill them in the lines, try all of them, see what you think, and then don't be afraid to push the buttons and try other things on your instrument until you find the one that works the best for you. And if you're unsure of how the song sounds, go to YouTube and look it up and play it a couple of times or have Alexa play it. And that way you'll get it in your ears so you kind of have a feel for how it's supposed to go, how fast it's supposed to go. And once you get a feeling for it, then you can say, aha, I'm hearing a flute in there. That's what I want. Or I want to play it with a trumpet. Or you'll get an idea of what kind of a sound you want to use in your right hand. But remember, when you are working with your instrument, what do? Left to right. You have to choose your rhythm plus orchestration, your music style first. You choose that first so that you get something. Now, how do you know if it's the right one? Just jot it down. You're going to have 4 or 5 different ones that you're going to like. And then, or you could write it in your book, but that's why I give you this so you don't have to write too many things in your book because you're going to load it up anyway with fingerings and chords. But yeah, then you try them and you star the one. I always put stars next to the ones that I really like. And yeah, you can change your mind tomorrow. It's up to you to change your mind. Then, once you get the correct music style, I would start with rhythm preset. Rhythm preset or normal or vintage and go right down the line and see if there's anything in that that works. That's why Lowry made them like this. That's why Esty made them like this, to make it easy. And then if you don't like any of those sounds, then you go to your categories. Now, what's the difference between rhythm preset and category presets? Your rhythm presets are designed to be perfect sounds for that music style, not necessarily for that song, but for that music style. For example, when Peg suggested gospel, gospel's got a nice bounce. But all of these sounds, all of these rhythm presets are now going to be more gospel type sounds. And that may not be the direction we want to go with this. So then if you don't like any of those, then you come to category. Now you can have a category or a rhythm preset. You may not have both of them on at the same time. It doesn't work. Okay? Now, for those of you that don't have rhythm presets or category presets, what do? You look at your sounds over here. You look at your sounds over here. Now, the bigger instruments have rhythm presets and category presets because there's way too many choices for us to decide over here. But if you've got a smaller instrument, you can choose 1, 2, or 3 sounds together by using your sounds over here on the right and left hand side. And that's why I give you some suggestions. And you just have to find where they are. So a pan flute, it might be in woodwinds and it might be in more. So check and see where they are. You might want to try combining a pan flute with a guitar. That's always a nice sound. Or a pan flute with strings and see what it does. So don't be afraid to try pushing the buttons. But don't push buttons here and then go back and find a style, because you may have found something really good over here and then all of a sudden you go to a different style and guess what? It's gone. So work left to right. This is the best advice I can give you for the rest of your life with a Lowry organ or an Esty organ. Okay, so now you have an idea, and I'll play a couple of the ideas too. I'll play a couple of them and we'll see what they sound like. Now, we can't forget about what else do we need to know. What kind of chords do we have and what kind of fingering do we have? All right, so I will give you fingering first. All my advanced classes, I give fingering last. It's still important in this class, so you're going to get it first. Let's do chords first. The C chord, the no chord, by the way, remember, a no chord is any 3 consecutive keys on the lower left. I happen to like the F and the G at the same time with my pointer on the F sharp. Any 3 consecutive keys. And you don't have to smash it or hold it. You can just touch it, release it, and it will cut off all the sound. It cuts your chord. No chord. You may put parentheses around it because it can be optional. You can just use your pickup notes right through your introduction if you wish. So don't worry about the no chord. You can play it or not. And if you use an introduction, what key are we in? C. C. Yep. That's the last chord. Now, why do you need to know what key we're in? Do you need to know the scale? No, you don't need to know the scale. You need to know the key the song is written in so that you know which key, which chord to play for your introduction. So you're starting the song in the right key. So in this case, if you're using one of the introductions, you would want to press intro 1 or intro 2 and then press your C key, and it will get the song started for you so you know what key we're in, you're getting ready to sing the song, and how fast the song is going. And don't worry, I'm going to keep repeating this from now until the end of time. So if you didn't quite get that concept yet, no worries. 99 times out of 100, it is the last chord of the song to
But
use for
Dawn,
your introduction.
sometimes here it is the first chord. And
Yes,
then
sometimes it's the first chord, but not always. So 99 times out of 100, check your last chord.
okay.
Now, if the first chord and the last chord match, you're good. That means that's definitely it.
And if it doesn't,
If it doesn't, it's probably the last chord because they do not always start songs with the chord of the key that the song is written in. Sometimes they'll start it with a lead-in chord.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. So when we get to those songs, we'll kind of analyze those and figure out what's going on. Now, what happens if you play that last chord and it doesn't sound right? Call me. That's the 1 out of 100 times where it's different and there's a reason it's different, and I'll help fix it. Okay, so let's do chords. The C chord is good for 1 measure. Cross out the E minor, and we are going to replace it with G, gorilla, plain old G. Now you've got a G chord coming up, so if you wanted to add the G7 at the 3rd beat, you really could do that. G7 is F and G. Second line, no changes. Play the chords that are there. Third line, 3rd measure, cross out the E minor and replace it with plain old G, gorilla. It will sound better. And then again, you can go to the G7 in the 3rd beat. 4th line, guess what? Same thing. Cross out the E minor and replace it with G, gorilla. And then if you want, you can add the 7 in the 3rd beat. All right, let's go to the top of the 2nd page. 1st line, no changes. 2nd line, you have a 1st ending and a 2nd ending. We'll go over the roadmap in a minute. The E minor and the 1st ending, cross it out and replace it with plain old G, gorilla. Same thing, same thing. The rest of the chords on that page are as they are. You have a D minor at the end of the page, D and F. D and F, 4th finger and index finger, 4 and 2. Page 3, turn the page on this one. G, C, G7, F. Okay, easy chords. 3rd line, cross out the E minor. Guess what we're going to do? Replace it with plain old G. And then if you wish, you can add that G7 in the 3rd beat. And that's it. So your chords are not that difficult in this song.
And why are we replacing the E minor with a G?
It doesn't sound right. And the original music that I found had the G chord instead of the E minor. Now, E minor and G are the relative majors and minors. This is music theory stuff that you don't need to know about yet. you will learn it. But sometimes the minor sounds better, and sometimes the relative major sounds better, and in this case, the major definitely sounds better. Why Hal Leonard decided to arrange it with that E minor, I don't know. I don't know, but sometimes the arrangers of these books will do some things that are a little bit different from the originals. And I always search for, as close as I can, the original pieces of music.
Dawn,
Yes,
I have this song in a fake book,
you
Hal
do.
Leonard fake book, and
Okay.
it has the G.
It has the G, see? Okay, good.
I
Thank
got
you.
it right here.
Yep. Yes. Hal Leonard sometimes does things, and their arrangers are excellent, but sometimes they throw something in that just isn't the way we are used to hearing it.
One question.
Yes, Lauren.
What registration 6? My book shows registration 6. What-
Ignore it. Okay, because now you have to remember. Now I get this question all the time. When we start making arrangements for these Hal Leonard books, okay, they will always give you up in that upper left-hand corner a registration number and then a rhythm suggestion. Now you have to remember, these books are published, Easy Play Today are published by Hal Leonard for digital keyboards, Wurlitzers, Rolands, Lowrys, Casios, everything that's out there, these are published for. Okay? Not necessarily our Lowry organs. So these are suggestions only. And a lot of times I'm going to tell you they're wrong. Sometimes they're right, but a lot of times they are wrong as far as the rhythms. For example, the song Yesterday, half the time they'll put in rock. You know why? Because the Beatles wrote it and the Beatles were a rock and roll band. But the song Yesterday is definitely not a rock and roll background. It is more of a Latin or an easy, soft and easy background. So you ignore those. Now, as far as the numbers, why does it have registration 6? Because sometimes at the beginning, yeah, and here it's at the beginning, they will give you some suggestions at the beginning with numbers. So when it says registration 6, they are talking about pipe organ. No, don't use it for this song. Handbells, vocal ensemble, choir, organ, flutes. I disagree with them 100% on that. But all that is a suggestion as to which sounds. Remember, registrations are sounds for the melody. That's all that means, sounds for the melody. And they give you suggestions at the beginning or end of each book. And guess what? Half the time, they don't work. So take it with a grain of salt. Try them if you wish. But half the time, I totally disagree with the registrations that the Hal Leonard arrangers have put in here. Okay? So the first thing you should try, again, is go to your rhythms, your music styles, try your rhythm presets. Those are going to be some of the best that are there. But if you happen to pick a rhythm like that gospel, and the gospel-y sounds don't work right, then come to your categories and try some of them. Or go to your right-hand side and start pushing buttons. And yeah, we will continue to talk about how to do things over here. We can't do everything on the first day of class. Totally impossible. Let's do the roadmap. That's the next thing we have to figure out. All right.
Dawn, excuse
Yes?
me.
Go
Do
ahead.
you have, do you have any printouts where you might, I know this is a level 3, but where you might have a C chord and then you might have some advanced chords instead of the C that you could use?
Not necessarily. And there are some chords that try as we want to add extra chords. Sometimes good songs are just written on C, F, and G. Okay.
Okay,
I worked with a
but
manager. I know sometimes C seems like it's too easy, but sometimes it's just a C,
Yeah.
and it's just a C. Don't fix it if it ain't broke. I worked one time
Okay.
with a manager here who very good musician, but he was a jazz musician, and he would accompany me sometimes at concerts where I'd sing and he'd play, and we'd get to a country song, and I'd say, okay, please don't play your jazz chords, meaning no nines, no, no major sevens. Don't play those, no sixes. I said, I know your fingers like to do them, but it doesn't sound right for country music. Country music is, I mean, they had guitars with just 4 strings, and they played C, F, and J, and sometimes D, and that was it. So sometimes you don't want to mess with the easy chords. Sometimes they are as they were originally written. So yeah, they don't all get extra fancy chords put in them. Now, where can you find other extra fancy chords? If you want to make these songs more advanced, go to musicnotes.com, musicnotes.com, and you can get more advanced chords. Okay? And it really, you can't just say, okay, C chord, you can substitute this. It doesn't work that way either. Each song stands on its own. Does that answer your question? It's kind of a hard question to answer.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we can talk about chords all day long. Get your markers out. Get your highlighters out. You want to have a couple different colors of highlighters. You do not want permanent markers, because permanent markers will go through and wreck your pages. But our eyes will follow colors long before we actually understand the symbols for road maps. And we are now out of red, blue, and green. No more red, blue, and green as far as chords. Now, if you still need red, blue, and green for chords, go ahead and color them in. Get some colored pencils and color in all the C's. Make them red. It's okay. But this is for the road map so that we can figure out where we're going. All right, you're going to follow the verses. The lyrics will always tell you where you are going. You're going to play all of page 1, or page 4, I should say. Page 5, the top line. The second line, you have 1 measure, and then you have a first ending. See that bracket with the 1 in it? Okay, then at the end of that first ending, you have 2 dots, a thin line, and a thick line. Those are your repeat dots that are sending you backwards, and so you want to take a color and make that a color. Now, where are we going back to? The dots that are facing the opposite direction. So if we back up, those dots are here at the beginning of the song. Right? So then you want to take that same color and mark those dots the same color. Now you can go from here to here. Your eyes will quickly take you there. All right, now when we do second verse, all of page 4, the top line of page 5, the first measure of the second line, and then what I do is I take another color and I put in a colorful 2 right before the first ending, a little arrow that takes me over to the second ending, and then I trace that second ending with the same color. So basically that's what it looks like. See where I have the 2, and then I jump over the first ending and go to the second ending. Again, your eyes will follow the colors before they follow anything else. Now that second ending is an open bracket. That means you keep playing, and now you just finish the song. So the road map is not that difficult on this song. Any questions about the road map? Nope, this one's not too bad. Let's talk about the notes in the right hand. I'm actually very surprised that they would put this notation in a book called Simple Songs, because here you are seeing dotted 8th notes and 16th notes. Normally Easy Play Music does not show 16th notes. What's a 16th note? What's a 16th note? I don't think I even have it on my chart. I don't, because we don't see it that often.
On the symbol.
It's the one with 2 flags. All right, so let's go to page 2. Second page, let's just get this out of the way. If you have 2 flags, this one is a 16th note, and there's a dot on the 8th note. Now, dots mean you add 50% of the note's value. So, mathematically, don't even try to figure it out. A dotted eighth note gets how many beats? How much does an eighth note get? Half a beat. So if you put a dot in front of it, you got to add 50%. 3/4 of a beat. 3/4 of a beat. Well, then the 16th note gets the other 1/4 of a beat. So don't mathematically try to figure it out. All you have to know is this one's a little bit longer and this one's really short. Now you also have over here, same thing. You've got a dotted eighth rest. And then you have a double flag on your 16th note, which means you play it really fast. Normally in easy play music, they're just going to give you an eighth rest and an eighth note, or they're going to give you an eighth note with an eighth note. Normally they're going to make it look just like they did on page 3 at the end of the song. They repeat a phrase, but here they're giving you a dotted eighth note and a 16th note. And here they're repeating the phrase, but they're giving you 2 eighth notes. This is the way you're normally going to see it written in easy play music. They're just going to give you 2 eighth notes, and you play it the way it feels. Okay, so use the notes as a guide, and don't even worry about dotted eighth notes and 16th notes. Just play the notes and play it the way it feels. Okay, play them like they're both eighth notes is basically what I'm telling you. If you listen to the song enough, it'll bounce right. It really will. So don't worry about the double flags on notes. You don't see it. I can't believe they put it in a book called Simple Songs. But they did, so we learned what they are. Okay, now you learned what they are. Now forget about them. Play them as eighth notes. You're going to be fine, honest and truly. Let's do some fingering. And yes, I'm doing fingering first. Why? Because I want you to play along with me a little bit when we play. Oh, I haven't even played the whole song yet. First day of class, too many things to talk about. Okay, you can do E1, E1, F2, G3, check mark in the rest. Now remember what the check mark means. That means you are lifting your hand, you're taking a breath, and moving it and repositioning it. E5, E5, D4. Second line, C3, G1. C5, B4, A3, G2, E1. Little check mark. Next line, F4, F4, E3, D2, G5. E1, E1, F2, G3, check mark. E5, E5, D4, C3, G1. Top of the second page, C5, C5, B4, A3, G2, E1. Check mark. Reposition your fingers. F4, F4, E3, D2, C1. Check mark. First ending, E1, E1, F2. Those are your pickup notes that take you back to the dots. Let's go to the second ending. The last 16th note on that page is C3. Third line, C3, C3, D4. A1, C3, A1, D4, A1, C3, C3, D4, A1, C3, C3, D4. Check mark in that rest. D3, E4, E4, D3, E4, F5, E4, D3, C2, B1, A2. Circle the 2. That is your visual cue that this is a crossover. B3, C4, and D5. Let's turn the page, the third page. E1, E1, F2, G3. High E5, little check mark if you want, by the way, before that. E5, E5, D4, C3, G1. Second line, C5, B4, A3, G2, E1. Check mark. F4, F4, E3, D2, G5. Third line, E1, E1, F2, G3. High E5, E5, D4, C3, G1. Next line, C5, B4, A3, G2, E1, check mark. F4, F4, E3, D2, C1. F4, F4, E3, D2, and C1. Okay. Now, I'm going to play it through totally once, and I am just going to use pop ballad. There's a whole bunch of them I could have used. And I'm going to put on the introduction and start with a C. I'm using rhythm preset 1, by the way. First ending, back to the beginning. Second ending. Okay, so you play it the way you feel it. And just bounce on the notes and it's going to work. Just bounce on the notes. So that's why a polka will work. That's why, yeah, that calypso will work very nicely. Okay, if you would like to play along, I am going to now put it on, let's put on basic country. Why? Because that's an easy beat to hear. And I'm going to slow it down. Just slow it down. If you want to play along with me, one hand at a time is all you need. But just play it the way it feels. So let's try this. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then we come in on the second beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. One, two, three, four, rest. Top of the page. First ending, back to the dots at the beginning of the song. Two, three, four, one. Second ending. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, four, rest, turn the page. Two, three, four, rest. Rest. Okay, any questions? The hardest part of the song is trying to figure out the counting in that bridge area. The bridge is the last 3 lines on page 5. Just use the notes as a guide and then just try to sing the lyrics. A crash of drums, a flash of light, my golden coat flew out of sight. And just make sure that you get the first note and the first beat of each measure right, and the rest of them just fill them in. And that works pretty well. So don't worry too much about trying to count those and get exactly the timing on that. It's not that important. If you play it the way you sing it, if you play it the way you remember it being heard, you're going to be perfectly right. So no worries about those 16th notes. We don't need any 16th notes anyway. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for attending class today. Question? I'm going to have everything on Patreon. I don't put it on Patreon, Robert does, but I'm going to include today's handout. Next week's handout is Beyond the Sea. Okay, so I'll include that one as well. I'm also going to put on there just for you guys. I'm not going to put this on every time, just today. But you can always email me if you need them. The symbols, okay, the chord charts for the majors, the minors, and the sevens. So if you need any of that stuff, yes, Patreon will have all that good stuff. And watch June for lots of good workshops and concerts because it is coming up. Lots of good stuff. And you know that if you have any questions, go to your PA, your personal assistant, give them a call, make an appointment, say, I want to come in and play the song for you. I'm struggling with it, and they'll help you. Or you can always give me a call or an email at 5028fletchermusic.com, and I'm here to answer any questions that I can. All right?
Dawn,
Yes.
just a comment. I really appreciate having the sheet in advance because it really helps me prepare and makes the lesson even more valuable.
Good.
Yep.
I'll always do that. I'll post today's music sheet and next week's sheet as well.
Yep. Very helpful.
Yep, good. Perfect. I'm so glad. You guys are awesome. Thank you for
And there's a
coming.
concert this afternoon.
Yes, there is. There's actually 2 of them. So you may have gotten
Mm.
invited to one or the other. So, yep. Because they're showcasing different instruments. You guys are fabulous. Have a wonderful
you.
day today.
You too.
Good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you, Dawn. You're
Puppy.
wonderful.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Miss Linda.
Thank you, Dawn.
Bye.
She's the best.
You.
Luck to Gus.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Bye.